So for the second time in a week, we've had lucked out here in this area right here with serious storms that just kind of grazed this property, this area. As you know, earlier in the week, we had storms coming, I guess, from the northwest and coming all the way down through Missouri and into Kentucky and Tennessee, Mississippi. And there was of course, Mayfield, I think it's called Mayfield, Kentucky was hit the hardest. But the more I look into this, the more I realize it's just the biggest area that was hit. There were so many more people that were affected by this. Power still out. Of course, the president went down there. So then last night, as of the recording of this video, we had another storm come through here. Now this storm traveled from the southwest up to the northeast. So basically from New Mexico up to Michigan. I did a news report on that on my other channel. If you want to go check that out, I'll put a box around up here on the screen at the end of this video. You can click on and go check out that video. But I did a report on that video, and I was telling everybody that Kansas City, which is not too far from us actually. I mean, if I had to go to a major metropolitan area, that's the one I would go to, because St. Louis is that's really far away from us. So Kansas City was hit, and the energy company said they're not going to be able to fix the electric grid for several days. So there's, I think if I recall, 118,000 people without electric in the Kansas City area, St. Joe, Missouri, and a town in Kansas, can't remember the name of it. Again, go to my other channel, I'll put a link to it. And then of course, my daughter lives in Iowa. I contacted her. Now she lives on probably more towards the east side of Iowa. I don't want to give away her location at all, obviously. She's my daughter. So, but I contacted her. She said, nah, she was getting rain. But Iowa, I was watching the news on live feeds on YouTube because I don't have TV here. And yeah, the storms were coming up from northwest Missouri, so through Kansas, up northwest and into Iowa. So Des Moines, I think, got hit, and the western parts of the state, southwestern parts of Iowa. And then it went on up into, I guess, Minnesota. Minnesota saw their first tornado in December. They've never had a December tornado, so now they've had the first one. And then National Weather Service reported that they had hurricane force winds, 55 different areas. That's the most they've had since 2004. So it was a pretty big storm event. Of course, it's not getting any news coverage because it didn't wipe out a complete town, but it has really affected the electric grid. Trucks had rolled over all through this. Colorado had a dust storm. Now, I find this interesting because the other day I got a comment from a guy. He says, you got a great channel, but it's useless for anybody who's living off grid. Of course, my response to those kind of people are, why are you watching an off-grid channel if you don't like off-grid? Doesn't make sense to me. But the thing I thought was notable was I was talking about the last storm, the one that hit Kentucky, and solar panels. And I was trying to make a connection that you don't have to live off-grid to be prepared, not being a prepper, but to be prepared for when the power is out. So Kansas City is going to be out of electric for days in the middle of winter. And I can tell you, it's pretty chilly today. It's going to get down to 36 tonight. So, let's just assume that I live close to Kansas. So let's just call it the 30s. They're going to get down to 30s tonight and no electric. Now, they weren't hit by the tornado. I mean, they still can live in their house, but they're not going to have any heat. So yeah, I think even if you don't live off grid, this channel has something to provide. As a matter of fact, that particular video did very well, which has got me thinking about what's going on with this channel. That's a whole different story. I wanted to go through some of the things that I think you could do very easily and not have to worry about power outages that are going to last days in the middle of winter. Now, the reason I say this is because here it is December, and we've had two, right here in this area, significant storm events that has caused havoc on the country. I have to admit, I don't want to, say that we were affected by this, but it skimmed us on both sides. Both storms skimmed this area right here. Had we been hit by both storms, or even one of the storms, like Kansas and like Kentucky, I would want this information so you could weather the storm. I talk about solar panels a lot. I got a guy, he's always funny. He makes a lot of jokes in the comment section. I don't remember the numbers. He got numbers in front of his name and he says Shadow, so that's a shout out to you, but he always makes jokes. But he suggested that I've showed him that he needs to be a little bit more prepared. So he has bought what is called a Jackery. Now a Jackery, I'm not a big fan of these little solar power boxes, but I understand that if you're not big into electric and you don't understand electric, it might be the way to go. I just think they're really expensive for as little as you get out of them. I mean, I've got a Jackery if you really think about it. I got solar panels, charge controller, batteries, and an inverter. Now granted, mine isn't wrapped up in a nice little package like a Jackery, but what a Jackery is, it's a power station that can run your appliances for a little while, depending on what size you get, and it's about the size of this generator here. Probably looks like a generator. Now they sell all kinds of different ones, Blue Yeti and just all kinds of different stuff. And so you can plug it in the wall, it charges up, or you can put solar panels on it and charges it up. I'm not a fan of them because I think it gives people a false sense of security. They make it sound like it's going to be the solution to all your problems. I was watching a channel one time. He was talking about he had one, he was going to run his freezer off of it. It ran it, of course, but it didn't run it long enough. It wouldn't charge fast enough to replace the electric that it used overnight. So you got to get more solar panels. And so I think it's kind of a trick. Okay, you buy this, you think it's going to solve your problems, but it's just for emergency use. So if that's what you need to like live in an apartment, you can get that. You may need 2 or 3 of them though, be aware, because you're not going to have the ability to charge them up unless you got solar panels. Now I've talked about solar panels, how to hook them up. They're not hard to do. And if you got a little bit of property or put them on your roof, you can do it yourself. It's easy. I've explained how easy it is. You can go to my playlist, go to solar panels. I've got all kinds of videos on that. You got to take care of your electrical needs. You don't want your freezer to thaw out, because then you're wasting all that money. I remember this was the springtime that my grandma had 2 freezers full of meat, and she lost her electric for a couple of weeks, and she lost all that meat. Now a lot of people say, well, it's wintertime, you can just put it outside. Well, it's like 45 degrees out right now, 40 degrees. It's cold. You're not going to live in 40-degree weather. You know, I'm sure people are going to say, oh, I'll just put a blanket on. Well, it's fine when you're sleeping, but when you're up working and trying to make food or take a shower, that isn't going to work. So putting your food outside in today's temperature just isn't going to work. Now another thing you're going to want to think about is heat. Obviously your furnace runs off of electric. It's got the blower on it. Now you can buy some furnaces and heaters that don't have a blower on it. Of course, I'm always a big advocate of wood. If you can install a wood stove, I highly recommend it. Even if you don't live in an area where you can cut firewood down, oh, I don't have enough property, there are plenty of people who are willing to sell it. Probably get you a cord of firewood, which cord probably lasts you a month if you ran it every day, all day long. But you could get a cord for $200 and just let it sit out in your yard and wait for the natural disaster to happen. You cover it up. Oh, it looks ugly in the yard. Yeah, I agree, it looks ugly, but hey, I'd rather look ugly than be cold. But the other thing we have is what's called a Mr. Heater Portable Buddy. You can buy these for under $100. You hook it up to a 20-pound propane tank. But Rob, you shouldn't take a propane tank inside the house. Well, yeah, I mean, I hear that all the time, but it's funny. When I was a nomad, all the nomads encouraged you to get a Mr. Heater Portable Buddy, and they always brought the tanks inside. But as soon as you build a house, oh, you can't take the tanks inside, they'll blow up. Well, people put these in their tents. So Mr. Heater Portable Buddy is just a little camping heater, and this guy will heat up 200 square feet. So our house is 196 square feet, so it does a pretty good job in temperatures like this. Now if it got below 0, it may not keep up, but it's easy to hook up. You can get Blue Flame heaters, and you can actually get a 100-pound propane tank, or even a 500-pound if you wanted to, and you can hook it up in your house, hang it on a wall. Of course, people are going to say carbon monoxide. When they don't understand what Blue Flame is, Blue Flame, they have safety like this Mr. Heater Portable Buddy Has an oxygen sensor on it, so when it runs out of oxygen, it shuts off. But you get some carbon monoxide detectors. We have 2 anyways. Now the other thing I think is important is a source of hot water. Now what we have is an on-demand water heater, and you can buy these on Amazon for $150. They're a camping water heater. Now you can buy big ones for the house, but this one's just like for taking showers with. You just hook up a pump to it with a bucket of water, or water, somehow to get water to it with an RV pump. It's really tough to have to take a shower or a bath in cold water. Now, you could heat it up over wood if you have wood, or a barbecue pit if you got a barbecue pit. So there's things you can do. These are the things you need to start thinking about now on how you're going to heat water. Now, the other thing is you're going to need water. We see this a lot, especially like during floods. The city water becomes contaminated somehow. One winter, the town my mom lives in, they shut off the water because there's a water line break. There's 10 feet of snow on the ground, being exaggerating a little bit. There's snow on the ground, you can't get out to get any, or the electric's out, and so the stores aren't open to get any, so you got to have a water source. And Dad has a well, it's a regular well, but he's rigged it up so he can unplug it from the line and plug it in his generator. I think that's the 3 key things you need. You need electric to keep your food from thawing out. You need heat so you stay warm, and you need water. And if you got those 3 things covered, you'll be okay in a natural disaster. So you can stay inside. Make sure your freezer's full of food, of course, or do like we do with canned food. A lot of people contacted me last night making sure we were safe. We got a storm shelter. Us being out here kind of in the country, it's pretty nice to have one so close that we can get into. So I appreciate all the concern everybody had. I hope I can inspire you to have a backup plan so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.